right, welcome back to Indy Ball Nation. I'm here it's a Friday afternoon. I'm wearing glasses, even though I'm going to have to take them off. I fell asleep in my contacts last night, which is why this video is going on a little bit late. But hey, no day games today, so that worked out for you, boy. I guess we'll hop right in here. We'll talk Atlantic League first and foremost. That feels like a good angle to take, and we'll start with the prime series that we're looking at, the Rockers and Honey Hunters. The Rockers look to salvage the third game of the series. They really thought this series, might break their tie, get them into first place, but they now find themselves fighting just to stay in it with about a week left in the first half. They now find themselves, 2 games behind Gastonia. It's not where they thought they would be right now. The Rockers, they did finally get their win to stay in touch with their rival in the standings, blowing out Gastonia by an 11-1 score. Ryan Weiss has a great day on the bump, 6 2/3, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 7 Ks. He's backed up by a 4-hit day from Michael Russell and Ryan Grotjon. Daikon Yo, Xander Wheel, and Grotjon. Oh boy, the pronunciation in that group of spelled names. Lord, High Point, what are we doing? Impressively, though, they all homered. Impressively, High Point, they tagged Zach Mort for all those runs, handed him his first loss of the season. He entered this game with a 2.8 ERA. Rockers ballooned that thing to a 3.88. That's a tough scene for him. Gastonia's lead in the South is now cut in half to just 1 game. Elsewhere in the South Division, you had Spire City at Charleston. Pitcher's duel interrupted by a 9-run outburst in the 6th and 7th for Charleston on the way to a 10-2 win. Strong outing from Troy Bacon was boosted by a 3 RBI effort from Bobby Bradley, including his 200th career home run as a pro ball player. Southern Maryland at Long Island, the other sort of headline game in the week. Southern Maryland, they found themselves in a very similar situation to High Point, looking to salvage the final game of a series that was a major opportunity for them. Now they're just trying to get anything out of it. They entered tied with Long Island, a game and a half behind York. They're now 3.5 behind York and 2 games behind the Ducks. Unfortunately for the Blue Crabs, though, they would not rally the way that the Rockers did. Despite 2 hits and an RBI from both Braxton Lee and Khalil Lee, the Crabs lose 8-2. Neil Ascali threw well for the Blue Crabs, but Andres Brasino's return to the team has been unceremonious. He gets tagged for 4 runs over an inning and a third. For Long Island, Rob Stock had a great outing, covering 7 1/3 innings, allowing 2 runs, 4 hits, 4 walks, 6 Ks. Wilson Ramos also chipped in big time to end his first Atlantic League series, homering in a 4 RBI night for Long Island. Staten Island at York. Could York keep Long Island a game and a half behind them? They look to complete their sweep of Staten Island. They entered the 8th inning up 7-3, but Staten Island managed to push across 2 in the 8th and then 3 in the 9th on the way to a come-from-behind 8-7 win, stealing that last game of the series, playing spoiler for York. York's lead is now cut to just a half game in the division. Lancaster at Lexington. Lexington and Lancaster, they split a doubleheader. Brandon tossed a 7-inning complete game for the Legends in a 4-1 win in Game 1. Dawson and Dillard both homered in that one. Playing as the road team in Lancaster, Lancaster actually blew an 8-1 lead in the final 2 innings thanks to 4 runs from Lexington in the bottom of the 7th. However, they did pull it out in extras 11-9 to win Game 2. We've got a bunch of 4-game series coming over the holiday weekend. Lancaster heading to Charleston. Long Island looks to keep chasing down York, welcoming Staten Island for their long weekend. York, they take on High Point, a huge series, North Carolina. Another huge series, North Carolina. You got Southern Maryland going to Gastonia. That one, talk about 2 teams with very different situations. Gastonia is looking to cling to that lead they have. Southern Maryland's trying to get back in that race, chasing down York in the North Division. Spire City is going to Lexington. Picking up in the Frontier League, Gateway at Evansville was rained out. Gateway remains a game and a half above Evansville in the West. That makeup date is still TBD. Really, the Grizzlies were more focused on hoping that Schaumburg would not be able to keep pace with them in the division. Elsewhere in the West, before we get to that interleague game with Schaumburg, Joliet won a pitcher's duel 2-1, avoiding a sweep in Windy City. Ricky Castro gets the win, going 7 innings, allowing 1 run on 8 hits, no walks, and 8 Ks. Logan Schmidt loses a tough one. He also went 7 innings. He allowed 2 runs on 4 hits. He did walk 7 while striking out 7. That will help a little bit less. David Harrison converted the 2-inning save. He drops his ERA to a 1.64. That Schaumburg series we're talking about, taking on Tri-City. Schaumburg entered tied with Gateway and with an opportunity to take over the West Division. However, Tri-City was in the mood to break some hearts. The Valley Cats jumped out to a 6-2 lead in the first, but the Boomers tied it in the 5th and held a 10-6 lead entering the bottom of the 5th. But Jacob Goldfarb snapped off a 3-run bomb, making it a 10-9 game heading into the 9th inning. And Robbie Merced smacked a walk-off 2-run homer in the 9th for an 11-10 Tri-City win. Schaumburg's 4 RBI nights from Fiorenza and Milazzo were not enough. Tough one for Schaumburg. You hate to see that in the middle of a playoff race. That's brutal. Elsewhere in interleague play, For the second straight day, a Keon Barnum home run walks it off for Jersey over the Crushers. Barnum goes 5 for 5 of that walk-off. He was something like 9 for 13 over the 3 games in these past 2 days. That's ridiculous. Brian Adams, he had a solid start to keep the Jackals in the game as well. Lance Lusk, he brings his ERA down to .92 for that New Jersey Pen. The Boulders walked off a heartbreaker as well, 11-10 over Washington. The Wild Things led this one 10-6, heading to the bottom of the 9th inning. But Matt McDermott hit a grand slam. His second home run of his 4-for-4 day ties it up. In the 10th, Gabriel Garcia singled to finish the job for the Boulders. Quitzer, Vinsky, and McDermott combined for a 9-13 day in the 5 through 7 spots in that New York lineup. That'll work for you. Trois-Rivières continues showing some signs of life, blowing out Florence 14-3. 5 scoreless innings from the Trois-Rivières bullpen helped get it across the finish line, but it was the offense really grabbing the headlines here, putting up 2 touchdowns. No homers to do that, by the way. But Juan Kelly had a 3-hit, 6-ribby night. All 9 spots in that batting order crossed the plate at some point. LP Pelletier, he was removed from this one just a couple innings after colliding with the wall on a great catch in left field. Don't worry, Flow Sports Broadcast did not catch that one. $30 a month. Ottawa takes the series over Sussex County with a 12-4 win in East Division action. A.J. Wright has 4 ribbies, and Jamie Smart contributes a 3-run bomb of his own. Nick McDonald, Chris Barica, and Erasmo Penales combined for 3 2/3 scoreless innings of relief for Ottawa. Florence falls back to 500. Last stop in the Frontier League, Quebec slips by Empire State in a close one, 2-0. They complete their sweep of the Grays. Abdiel Saldana, he led the way with 6 shutout innings. The bullpen handles business from there. Tanner Justin Dalton and Frank Moscatiello, they both struck out the side in their lone innings of work for Quebec. TJ White homered, and that is obvious. Let's go to the Pioneer League, because why not? Glacier at Boise, 2 second-place teams, still doing work over this 3-game set, playing in the rubber match in Boise. 9 innings were not enough to settle this one, but Dean Miller beat Casey Dykstra in the knockout round for a 7-6 Glacier win to take the series. Dykstra was all over the place in this one, though. Tossed 2 innings scoreless, knocked in 2 runs at the dish, and then in the knockout round, they're like, can you give us more? He could not, but no fault on him. Glacier's bullpen delivered a big 6 innings of 1-run work to keep the Range Riders in it. Moving on to Ogden against Idaho Falls. Ogden beats the hell out of Idaho Falls again. I feel so bad for Idaho Falls. They showed up that last Missoula game. You're kind of like, okay, maybe they got something going here. No, not so much. This time they lose 18-5. Ogden extends their streak to 100 runs in 6 games. What is happening out there for Ogden? What's to even say about this other than Ogden will be matched up with Missoula 3 times next week and 6 times a week later, and we will be watching that one very closely. By far the 2 best teams in the Pioneer League. They both have the best offense and pitching in the league. The Vibes win their 2nd straight series with an 8-6 win over Billings. The Vibes bounce back from a brutally bad stretch by now winning 4 of 6. How about that for the Vibes? Marvin Guzman absolutely slang it from the pen. Comes in relief. They got stretched a little bit early in the rotation spot, but he comes in, settles it down, 4 1/3, no runs, 3 hits, 1 walk, 9 Ks. Jersey might as well say daddy vibes because Poppy got it done. We're looking at Grand Junction at NoCo, talking about pitchers who have been struggling. After a predictably wild one on Wednesday night, the Jackalopes and Owls played yet another relatively normal baseball game. Good job, guys. Justin Kleinsorg, he tosses 126 pitches in a complete game effort with 9 Ks, but my guy allows a walk-off 2-run single to Kevin Higgins with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Heartbreaker for the big dog there. Now 4-1 on the season. For NoCo, it was Jackson Coates. He had a 3-hit game. De La O and Dave Matthews both homered. Dave Matthews then played an 11-minute long version of a 5-minute long song to celebrate. 3 2/3 scoreless innings from the Owls pen kept them in it for a shot to win it at the end there. Finally, Missoula, often referenced already in this one, they won the rubber match of their surprisingly difficult series. I thought that might be a walkover, but no, Great Falls really did show out, but they do end up falling to Missoula with a 4-1 loss. They lose the series there. Connor Schultz tosses 6 1/3, 1 run, 2 hits, 8 Ks. Yep, that'll play. He's 4-0 now on the season. Those 2 hits were all that Great Falls would manage in this one. Keaton Greenwald alone had 3 hits for Missoula. Patrick Chung homered as well, because that's what Patrick Chung does. Missoula still leads the North by 5 games. Let's go to the American Association here. 3 ninth-inning runs were not enough as Gary falls to Milwaukee 6-4. Gregory Vasquez had yet another good day on the mound for the Milkmen, dropping his ERA down to a 1.92. Okay, Gregory. He didn't need any strikeouts to it, by the way. That's the weirdest part. And I was like, oh, ground ball guy? No, he threw like 5 groundouts, I think, the whole time. 6 of his 15 outs came from groundouts. Everything else in the air. Don't even know how that happens. That's one way to do it, though, kids. Offensively, Justin Williams and Michael Woodworth traded home runs. That's how you do it. 6-4 win. Not much else to say there. Weird game. Lake Country claims the series rubber match with an 8-4 win over Chicago. A 4-hit day with a homer from Matt Botcher at the top of the Dogs lineup was still not enough to get it done because Lake Country was launching baseballs. Thomas Jones homers twice. Marcus Chu and Brian Ray each homer as well in that win. Sioux City wins their series over Sioux Falls with a 9-8 win. A Chase Harris RBI single in the 8th decided this one, but it was back and forth from the jump. Sioux City answered a 3-run first from the Canaries with 5 runs of their own in the first. By the 4th, though, the Canaries led 7-5, but they just could not hold that lead over the final 6 innings, just too much to ask. Lincoln blows out Winnipeg 13-2 for the series win. Lincoln broke it open with a 6-run 5th and finished it with 5 more in the 6th. That'll put it away. John Bezdishik, he tossed 6 innings, allowing 0 earned, striking out 6. Walter Borkovic, he was really impressive. Covered the last 3 innings. They used 2 guys to get through his 9 innings. He covered the final 3 innings on the mound for Lincoln. He looked great. Going to maybe the most consequential series over in the interleagues, Fargo-Moorhead at Cleburne. Fargo and Cleburne had split their first 2 games of the 6-game set. The Redhawks entered the day still tied with Kansas City at the top of the West Division. Weather in Cleburne, quote, according to the box score, 100 red-hot chili rotors. According to the box score, that is not my words. But the Railroaders, bats were hot as the weather. They hammer the Redhawks for 13 runs and a 13-7 win. Quintana homers twice. Karaviotis, he homers as well. Every Cleburne batter gets a hit as they remind the league that they cannot be slept on down there in Texas. Cleburne remains 2 games behind Milwaukee, hunting them in that division. Kane County comes from behind to avoid being swept with an 8-7 win over the Monarchs. Kansas City scores 7 over the first 3 innings, but they could not touch the Cougars' pen after that. Meanwhile, Kane County was chipping away. 3 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th to complete the comeback. The Monarchs remain 1 game ahead of Fargo. Looking to the outside leagues, why not? We'll hit it. Tucson at Santa Fe. They rained out in the Pecos. Bakersfield, Train Robbers, and Martinez. Ruben Portillos, he delivers another strong outing in an 8-4 Bakersfield win. Marysville at San Rafael. A 4-run top of the 9th was not enough to complete Marysville's comeback in a 9-8 Pacifics win. Monterey and Vallejo, I assume they played. I don't know what's going on in Vallejo. I don't get box scores from them. Weird. Roswell at Garden City. Garden City upsets Roswell. Matt Ambrosino, he goes complete game shutty in a 12-0 win in this league. Gross. Do it. Sign him. Trinidad at Alpine. Solid Ben Kowalski outing led Trinidad to a 9-6 win as Alpine struggles continue. Finally, in the Empire League, 4 RBI from Tommy Kretzler and 5 RBI from Tommy Dunleavy led the Japan Islanders over Plattsburgh with an 11-9 win. Last stop, Tupper Lake drops their 2nd consecutive after 11-0 start. It seems to be the pitching catching up for them. They allowed 4 runs per game over their first 10, allowing 12 per game over the last 3. That won't work. Barone Porter made the most of it with a 4 RBI night for Saranac Lake, who is now just 3.5 back. We have games starting in a couple hours, so we're going to get out of the way here. Check out all the Indy Ball action tonight. I will also be recording tonight with Nick over on the Indy Ball Report podcast. Look for that to drop probably sometime tomorrow, I would assume. Follow Indy Ball Nation on all the relevant channels, podcast platforms. That's the word I was looking for. And, of course, check it out on the Indy Ball Report YouTube and podcast channel. I am Ryan from Indy Ball Nation. Y'all have a good one.
I may not have a lot, but I love what I got. A 4x4 and a good fishing spot. I hope this time my card won't